Let's call this meeting of the Sioux Falls Planning Commission to order for February 7th, 2018. Again, just to highlight a couple of things you heard on the introductory video, please silence your electronic devices out of respect for everybody else in the audience. And we do look forward to hearing from each person that would like to come forward and speak. Please come forward as you are recognized, and limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes and focus on new testimony not already presented. With that, I think we need to hear the consent agenda.
Yes, Mr.
Denise.
Chair. Item 1, approval of January 3rd, 2018 minutes of regular meeting. Item 2, January plats. Item 3, 7972, 2018, rezone from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the C4 Commercial Regional District for allowed forms located at the southeast corner of East Benson Road and I-29. Item 4, 7973, 2018, rezone from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District located at the southwest corner of East 18th Street and South Darrell Place. Item 5, 7975, 2018, rezone from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the University Hills POPUD for allowed forms located at 5600 West University Trail. Item 6, 7978, 2018, rezone from the C3 Commercial Community District to the C4 Commercial Regional District for allowed forms located at 3015 South Minnesota Avenue. Item 7, 7980, 2018, rezone from the I-1 Light Industrial and C3 Commercial Community Districts to the I-1 Light Industrial and C3 Community Districts for allowed forms located at the northeast corner of West 12th Street and South Marion Road. Item 8, 7981, 2018, rezone from the AG Agriculture District to the S2 Institutional Campus PUD for allowed forms located east of North Benson Road and south of West 54th Street. Item 9, 7876, 2017, preliminary subdivision plan for Dalco Addition located south of East 57th Street and west of South Highway 11. Item 10, 7877, 2017, preliminary subdivision plan for North Ridge Addition located west of North Career Avenue and south of West 34th Street North.
Thank you, Denise. Staff, do we have any requests to move any of these to the regular agenda? Is there anyone on the commission who would like to see any of these moved to the regular agenda? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to see one of these items 1 through 10 moved to the regular agenda? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All of those people who are here for items 1 through 10 may now leave if you would wish, or you may stay at your will. Next item is number 11. Denise.
Need to approve the regular agenda first, please.
So we do. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Item 11, 7954, 2017, conditional use permit for an electronic message center within a residential zoning district located at 4100 South Bonson Avenue.
Good evening. Jason Bieber representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by the Abiding Savior Free Lutheran Church It's located at the southeast corner of East 49th Street and South Bonson Avenue. The applicant is proposing to place a 24.81 square foot electronic message center sign board on the northwest corner of the existing church. The overall dimensions of the proposed wall signage is 68 inches by 97 inches for a total of 45.81 square feet. The submitted site plan indicates the one-sided 45.81 square foot sign, as you can see in the picture here, on the northwest corner of the building, and this would be adjacent to 49th and Bonson. Numerous churches within the Sioux Falls have installed electronic message center signs and situated along arterial or collector streets. The proposed EMC wall sign will be located on two of these collectors, 49th Street and South Bonson Avenue. It will be located approximately 100 feet from the nearest residential zoning district. Based on the proposed ordinance change and previous approvals that Planning Commission and City Council have done, staff is recommending approval of this electronic message center sign. However, we would say that we would request approval of no more than 30% of the allowable square footage for a maximum of 15 square feet, which is less than the 24.81 they are requesting. Further, we would also add another condition. We would request that this sign have to be turned off from the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Jason. Is the petitioner here? Come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Jerry Burtis. Need my personal address or the church?
Either one you prefer.
Okay. The church's address is 4100 South Bonson Avenue in Sioux Falls.
Okay, do you have any other additional comments beyond those that Jason outlined?
No, I guess the only thing I would share with you guys is, or you folks, is that this was all just, it was kind of the brainchild of a private donor. It's not something that the church originated. We had a individual within our congregation who thought it would be a good idea to simply have a messaging center or sign to help to inform people about our daycare, preschool, and after-school programs that we have at our church, in addition to obviously just general worship information times. So it was at his bequest that we started this.
And how would you feel about the conditions that staff recommended in a limitation of, I think it was 15 square feet, and limitation of time from shutting off the sign from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.? I couldn't remember.
In terms of the time, that doesn't bother us at all. I mean, we'd be happy to have it shut down at 10 o'clock in the evening and not turn on until 7 or 8 in the morning. I think our private donor, his only concern was that because it sits back from the street so far compared to other signs around town, that if it's reduced too much, that it may not be as visible for people to read. To be honest with you, I don't know how, I haven't shared with him all of this information. I don't know how he would react if the size is reduced. He may decide to just simply withdraw his support. I don't know at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kim Mayer. I live at 7545 South Grand Arbor Place here in Sioux Falls, and I'm here on behalf of Daktronics, the manufacturer of the proposed sign. We can look at that first one. This is an image of Abiding Savior that I took from Google Earth, and the yellow arrow shows you where the proposed sign would be located, and as you can see, it's on the corner directly facing the intersection of Bonson and 49th, so it does not face straight onto the two homes that are across the street, and I think that's important to note. If we can look at the second one. This is the old sign now, and this is the same spot where the proposed sign would be. And as you can see, we're looking at about 56, 57 feet from the sign to the curb. And now lettering on a sign from this distance, we get into the importance of the size so that it's readable from passers-by. So if we can look at the third one, we've got a chart there that talks about the size of lettering and the ideal readable distance. And as you can see, when we're getting to the 50, 60-foot range, the desired letter height would be 5 to 6 inches. So keeping this in mind, let's take a look at that next one. This is the First Reformed Church at 57th and Tomar. Now, this church was allowed to have a larger sign, and you can see that it is closer to the road than this proposed sign would be, and it's also directly across from a home. On the prior chart, we talked about letter sizes, and looking at this sign again, you can see that they're using a good-sized font, and you can see on there, if we can take another peek back at that prior one. Actually, the one right underneath the chart there. Yeah, perfect, thank you. You can see that they've got a good-sized font, so it's quite legible and it's easy to read if you were passing by. So basically, to be an effective sign, the sign needs to be read easily in a minimal amount of time. With a smaller sign, the church is then going to be forced to use a smaller font, which tends to put us back. Can we go back to that one chart again with the signs? Then if we're forced to use a 3 or 4 inch letter height, then we're looking at an ideal readable distance back 30 to 40 feet. And also with a smaller sign, you're forcing the sign owner to use not only the smaller font, but maybe squeezing information in, making it less legible, a little bit more difficult to read, and less pleasing to look at, and ultimately less beneficial to the sign owner. And lastly, I do want to mention brightness. If the city's desire to reduce the digital displays down to 30% is because of a concern over brightness, keep in mind that the city already has appropriate brightness language in the code. It requires that electronic signs come equipped with automatic dimming controls that automatically dim the signs according to surrounding ambient light. And the code also requires that displays not exceed 0.3 foot candles above ambient light when measured at a preset distance depending on the size of the sign. So I think it's important to stress that a larger sign does not mean a brighter sign. A lighter sign would still need to comply with the code. And based upon this information, I would urge you to approve the larger sign size for Abiding Savior. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak to this item? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Charlie Christensen. I live at 4004 South Tuscany Court. I'd just like to start and say I have nothing against the church. My daughter attended daycare there when she was younger, and she goes to church there still to this day. And I would just like to say I feel like there's modern technology today. There's plenty of ways to advertise besides putting the sign in people's backyards. With technology today, there's a million ways to show what they're interested in showing to people versus, putting a sign in the backyard. You can Google pretty much anything these days, and it's not like people don't know there's a church there. So I don't think it's really good for the people who live in that area to have a sign in the presence going through their windows when the street lights shine through our windows already. And I feel during rush hour, there's plenty of people running that 4-way stop sign in the morning and after work. So just imagine what would happen when you put up more things to look at there. So I'm just against it, and I feel like there's plenty of other ways to advertise these days. That's all I have.
Okay, Any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Are there any other audience members who would like to address? Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Asmus, 4000 South Tuscany Court. I have some visual materials here as well. All right, so this is from Google Maps. Thank goodness for technology. But you'll notice where the yellow square is, that is where the proposed sign is. Directly across the street, kitty corner from that, is my property, 4000 South Tuscany Court. This would actually shine right in my bedroom window at night. It would shine right in my family room windows at night, and I have pictures to that as well. I've talked to the neighborhood. The images in red are houses that have been, that are opposed to this as well as the two circled. One of them did change their mind. You'll see the okay for that property. The next is the next page. Okay. I also wanted to point out this stretch of 49th Street from Southeastern to Bonson Avenue. There is already the Shalom Christian Reformed Church that has an electronic message center. Southern Hills also just was approved recently for an electronic message center. So if Abiding Savior also was approved this evening, there would be 3 electronic message center signs in a 6-block area. I'll also have you note that the Southern Hills property and the Shalom Christian is surrounded by a business district, other businesses or parks or the school, whereas Abiding Savior is surrounded by completely residential on all 3 sides. Then it is this one right here. So these are pictures directly from my home. This is the first set is the view from my bedroom. Now the sign that is currently in place is actually lower. When you look at the spec that they have presented, it would raise the electronic sign aligned with the top of the window, so it would actually be even higher above my fence line. The second group of pictures is from my family room, where my family plays with, my young kids play with their toys, we watch TV, and so this would be directly in my family room. And then the third is even from my kitchen. So when I'm serving my children breakfast in the morning or serving dinner or preparing, I will be seeing this sign every single day. It's going to affect my enjoyment of my home negatively, and I am opposed of this sign. Again, this is the street view with Google Maps. Yep. This is just, again, depicting how the sign will shine directly to my property, directly into the back windows of my home. There is another sign, the Shalom Church's sign. It is so bright at night, that middle picture, I couldn't even get a good picture with an iPhone. It is very bright and glaring when you're at that intersection. And again, that's in a business area, not in the middle of homes. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission?
I guess I could ask this one earlier. Is the current sign lit?
It is not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. Are there other audience members who would like to address this item? Board, state your name and address for the record.
Krista Gunderson, 4108 South Portis Circle. So I'll use the picture that the commission actually did. I'll circle my house so you can see. So we live kitty corner, so we're the second lot over. Nope, next one over. That one. So our backyard faces Abiding Savior. At this time, we are staring, like our windows all stare straight at their current sign, which, not the one that's on the corner, but the one that is on the side view of the church. It's a very large sign, but it's in brick, and it has, nice lettering. However, it is lit, backlit. There also is another very large sign that's over on 49th Street that is in the same capacity. Beautiful, but still lit. So this would be a third signage that would go up for Abiding Savior. Our house has 6 windows that face Abiding Savior, so we're looking at that church 24/7. From our living room, from our bedroom, from our bathrooms, from our kitchen, from our dining room, everything faces Abiding Savior. So although that sign wouldn't shine directly into my house, it's right there, visible. It's pretty much in my living room. One of the other concerns that I have is this is a 4-way stop. As Charlie said, people run that stop sign all the time because there are very few cops that are in the area. It's a residential area. It's a very quiet neighborhood, not a lot of people around. And it is a school zone for not only John Harris Elementary, but it also has the Catholic school that is right there. So after school and before school, there are a ton of children there. If we have someone who is staring at a sign rather than paying attention to the children that are walking, we're going to have some really serious problems. I think that there are enough residents. If you look at our cul-de-sac, I have spoken with the people on the corner that faces 49th. They are opposed. The one to the next in from that, the Schneiders, Kathy actually was supposed to be doing all this talking tonight, but she ended up sick and was not able to come. She is extremely opposed. Kent and Shelley Nelson also opposed. And then the other gentleman that's on the corner right across the street, unfortunately has only lived there for a couple of months. And I'm afraid that the letter probably went to the old neighbor that lived there, who is 99 years old and has since moved to a assisted living place. So we don't have contact with Clay right now. So he wasn't able to come, but that would be right in his living room window too, his picture window and his bedroom window. I feel very strongly that there is enough signage at that church. The website, I pulled up their website. They have a beautiful website. You can go look up anything you want about the school programming they have, their church times. They're a very welcoming community. They're very much people. And so if you want to learn about their church, they're right there to tell you. I really don't think a digital sign is going to help them in any way. So I know that we mentioned the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I would say dusk to dawn, which in South Dakota is 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. for half of the year. And I mean, we don't need extra lights shining inside any of our homes. That's all I really want to say.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
Oh, my husband did want me to mention that he is deaf too, and so any lights that are flickering all night long are going to be a real distraction.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to come forward and speak about this item? Seeing none. Jason, would you come up for a moment? Just talk to us for a moment on why the recommendations of the staff are different than what was presented by the church, if you could.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Previous requests that we've had in the last couple years for electronic message center signs located in similar residential neighborhoods on collector streets, they've all, I guess, either been approved or by the Planning Commission or the City Council with that 15 square foot size, maximum size, and also limiting the hours to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that's kind of why we're recommending trying to stay consistent with some of the other approved ones. I do think it's important to note that if this application was denied, Abiding Savior Lutheran Church could still construct the same wall sign with a backlit cabinet. They just couldn't have the electronic message center portion of it. That's really what the conditional use is for. So,
okay, thank you. Any questions from the? Yes,
I have a question for Jason. Would you talk about what the recommendation is regarding the ordinance change and what the effect of that would be if that ordinance was already in effect?
If the proposed ordinance change that will be coming before you guys in March, was effective, approved by the city council, this sign would be allowed in this zoning district with a maximum of the 15 square feet. It'd have to be shut off from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then the other two conditions with be on a collector street, which it is, and then perpendicular and that stuff. So.
The second question I have is if we would approve this with your recommendations regarding the modification to the originally requested sign, and as we heard earlier in testimony, that may not be of interest, does it seem that we're proposing something that may not be followed up on?
And that would be the church's decision to see if they wanted to go forward with being able to construct that electronic message center sign at 15 square feet if it was approved. That would be their decision, and I can't speak for the church, but to try and stay consistent, that's why we're recommending that 15 square foot. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, just real quick, Jason, I hadn't heard that element about the intensity or the lighting above ambient lighting rules. Are you familiar with those passages?
Yeah, there's an ordinance within the zoning ordinance about lighting, outdoor lighting, that discusses what they're talking about 3-foot candles at the property line. And the representative from Daktronics may be able to explain a little bit better how these signs do backlit. I mean, they dim at night to begin with.
Jeff is in.
And when we updated the sign code in 2009 and 2010, Daktronics put this section of the code in there for electronic message signs. So there's a whole chart in the sign code section about electronic message signs and having a light meter to go out there and regulate the signs. So anytime that we need to go out there and regulate it, and even the picture she showed, if there's an issue with a sign, we can go out there and regulate it and bring down the glare of any sign. So it's based upon the types of signs that we have, and we can regulate those signs. It's in the sign code.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay. Did the petitioner want to come back up and comment about any of the other comments made by audience? We always give that option. No? Okay. And I'd entertain action from the commission.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce a motion to defer this. What I think is important is if we're making a decision based on a recommendation regarding pending or a proposed ordinance, that it would be better to make a decision about that before using it as the reason for approving this on a conditional use basis.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion to defer. I assume that's for 1 month?
Yes. Well, yes.
To the March meeting? Okay.
Yes. That's where the ordinance would be taken up, as I understand it.
Is there a second to that motion? Any second to that motion? Okay, motion dies for lack of a second. I'd entertain an alternative motion.
Mr. Chair, a motion to approve for discussion.
Second. The conditions.
Yes, with the conditions recommended by staff.
Okay, and that's okay with the seconder?
And it's okay with the second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the item number 11 as presented with the conditions recommended by staff for discussion purposes. Any discussion?
What was compelling about this, Mr. Chair, for me was that it is consistent with other activity and other actions we've recently taken. I can understand the conditions and the testimony and the feelings of how this is going to impact surrounding neighbors, but I think with the consistency of the size, the setback from the curb, the angle of it, the Daktronics, is a so-called, we'll call it the Daktronics amendment, for lack of a better way to say it, but gauging the intensity plus the hours of operation we've put in with this particular recommendation, I think the church should be given the option to pursue this if they are willing to, under the decreased size.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
No, I do feel that the city is taking a good look at this, and by reducing that down to what we've done in other previous places, with that, I could be for this.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No?
No.
That's 2 noes, motion carries. Thank you. Any other additional business?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Make it a great night, Sioux Falls.